On a cold winter's morning in March of 2010, Holly Bartlett was found clinging to life under the MacKay Bridge in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. The next day, she died of her injuries. The night before, Holly, an independent 31-year-old who had been blind since age 13, had gone out with a friend for dinner. They ended up at a party to celebrate the year-end of university. Holly never made it home. Police ruled her death an accident. They believed she walked 350 meters from her condo, down 2 steep sections of road, crawled through a hole in the fence, and then up an abutment under the MacKay Bridge, where she fell 10 meters to the ground below. Police say Holly was drunk and disoriented. None of this makes sense to anyone who knew Holly.
Holly Bartlett was found unconscious under the MacKay Bridge after a night out with her friends.
The initial police investigation was wrapped up really quickly. Drunk, blind girl, case closed.
The 31-year-old's death in March 2010 was ruled an accident.
There's a lot of hours in there that we don't know where she was. There's parts of me that sort of died with my sister.
I really would like to know what happened to Holly. Somebody knows.
This is What Happened to Holly Bartlett.
Holly was born on Boxing Day, 1978. One of the nurses came up and said to me, "So you know your daughter is blind?" I was floored. My name is Marion Bartlett, and I'm Holly Bartlett's mom. She's a middle child, very strong personality, and even as a little preschooler, you know, she persevered.
My name is Holly Bartlett, and I'm 30 years old, and I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia. When I was born, I had an eye condition called microphthalmia, which in layman's terms means small eyes. When I lost my vision around the age of 13, that was a rather traumatic experience, but everything at 13 is traumatic.
She always appeared confident, even when she wasn't. And she was very stubborn, but she was also very kind and very loving. My name's Amanda Jenkins, and I'm Holly Bartlett's younger sister. I remember one day I was driving, and here's my sister walking down the street with her white cane. I hollered out the window, "Holly, it's Amanda." She said, "I know it's you." I said, "Where are you going?" "Yoga." "Okay, call me later." But she always had there was nothing to lose attitude. We were driving down the street one day, and she said, "Yeah, last weekend I went skydiving." Okay. Here she was going out on the weekends, doing assisted riding and winning medals and ribbons and trophies.
I'm involved with horseback riding. I am involved with swing dance. I volunteer on a board for a nonprofit organization. I am completing part-time my master's in public administration.
She had friends. She had a social calendar. She always wanted to, be known not because of her disability, right?
It can be challenging, particularly if I'm putting myself out there and pushing myself outside of a comfort zone. That makes you a little bit more vulnerable.
She wasn't scared of going places, and she was quite fine to do that without being accompanied. She was very confident in moving around, and I think she taught herself how to do that because she didn't want to depend on anybody else. That's how independent she was. I was too young to realize what a good sister she was and what a good aunt she was to my kids. And I just miss having her around. I miss her jokes. I miss her calling and asking me to pick her up and me getting irritated.
I miss her laugh. Miss her laugh.
I miss hearing her stories. I miss seeing her reach goals, and I miss it all. I just miss her. I miss my sister.
I had 150% confidence that the police department would do a thorough investigation. I really did believe that they would do a thorough investigation.
I remember when I went into the room and I saw my parents and there was a police officer there. And my mother looked at me and said, "They'll find out what happened, Amanda. They're gonna find out." I've told the police where she was. We have a list of her friends, and they're gonna figure it out because it can't be that hard. You know, she's 4'0", blind woman who everybody knew on her street. Someone has to know. We had confidence that we'd get the answer.
He told us Monday morning when he came. There no foul play is suspected. They didn't even have the autopsy done.
What we felt the answer was, for a lot of this, is Holly was drunk. I said, "Mom, ask the police officer if the cab driver had GPS on their car, because if they had GPS on their car, at least then we can rule out, you know, that she was dropped off at the wrong spot." Or the answer was, "Mrs. Bartlett, you watch too much CSI." She had just buried her daughter.
It was right then and there that I knew that we would never find out what happened to Holly.
It's hard not knowing. It's hard picturing my sister underneath the bridge. She was laying underneath the bridge for 5 hours, freezing.
They treated the case as poor little drunk blind girl. Her death deserved a proper investigation. Somebody out there knows exactly what happened on March 26th. Somebody knows.
Holly Bartlett was found unconscious under the MacKay Bridge after a night out with her friends.
The 31-year-old's death in March 2010 was ruled an accident.
The initial police investigation was wrapped up really quickly. Drunk, blind girl, case closed.
Her death deserved a proper investigation.
It's hard not knowing.
Somebody out there knows exactly what happened on March 26th. Somebody knows.
I start my morning every morning with a good workout so that I don't get injured. When I lost my vision to the point it is, I just continued doing all the sports I do.
My name is Peter Parsons, and I was an orientation mobility specialist, and that's where I met Holly. As an orientation and mobility specialist, I taught blind and partially sighted adults how to travel safely and independently. Holly became my client when she retired her guide dog. She had the best skills of any client I had ever worked with. You'd show her something once, and then she'd have it. She was always learning new routes because she was so active, and throughout a lot of walking with orientation mobility came a lot of talking. Like, she's always asking me questions, always asking me about my son Jensen, telling me about her niece or nephew. So we really got to know each other quite well. When everything happened, a friend of Holly's told me that Holly had passed away, and I just couldn't believe what I heard. It was like so shocking to me at the time. The police believe she walked 350 meters from the entrance to her condo, went down an embankment, crawled through a hole in a fence, climbed up an abutment under the MacKay Bridge, and fell 10 meters to the ground below. They believe she was drunk and disoriented. It was very frustrating at the time. The first thing investigating such a case was learn how a person who's blind travels. People that are using the traffic for orientation when they're blind, it's as obvious as someone who's sighted just seeing where they're going. It's definitely hard to imagine Holly was disoriented outside her condo. This is a place that she left every weekday morning to go and catch her bus at the bottom of her driveway. There was more to it than the initial police investigation. I wanted more answers, so we started what we called the Justice for Holly group. We'd get together along with Marion, Holly's mom. I remember the police telling me that nobody had come forward to say they seen anything. So we talked to over 100 people, because Holly lived in a big building, and we would always end with asking people, did the police talk to you? And the answer was no. They actually could have did more. So these are the type of questions that just don't add up. I want to go over Holly's case again to see if I can answer some of those unanswered questions. I've asked my father, Brian, to help me. He was involved with criminal investigations his whole professional life.
My name is Brian Parsons. I started in the policing world. I worked criminal investigations most of my career. Retired from the military and opened my own investigation company. I was involved with the Justice for Holly group and investigated this case several years ago. And I'm willing to help Peter look into this one last time. There was just a lot of questions to be answered, a lot of facts to dig into.
We're driving to meet with Holly's mom, Marion, to ask her permission to try one more time to find out what happened to Holly.
Hi, Marion.
I give you a big old hug too. I get to hug you at least once a year.
Yeah, once a year I say to my dad.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
So good to see you. It's been a long time.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. Come on in.
Yeah, thank you.
We knew that Holly was going out with her friends that night because the plan was for her to come over to Dartmouth to spend the afternoon with her dad.
The police theory was Holly had allegedly been driven home by a cab, dropped at her front door, made this trek some long distance back down to the MacKay Bridge at midnight. The police theory was she'd gone down a pathway, become certainly disoriented and fallen down, and then crawled through a hole in the fence up a bridge abutment to fall off. And I thought, this sounds very strange.
We knew she was at a school function that night. So when they found her, we wanted to try to find who she was with.
The story was Holly was very intoxicated that night.
It wasn't really that out of the routine. Like, in fact, she went home at midnight because she had to do a study thing the next day. It wasn't a 2 or 3 in the morning type of thing. You think her friends would have let her get in a cab if she was that drunk.
The time frame from 6 o'clock till midnight is a 6-hour period. She's consumed 5, possibly 6 drinks. It's highly unlikely that she would be that intoxicated. Do you remember the police had said they'd searched the area?
They did. They
thoroughly?
said that they had trained officers over there, we were told.
There was a hole in the fence.
Halifax police pointed out to me where they thought Holly went through to get into the bridge compound. There was a hole in the fence. A dog could go through it, and Holly would have fit through it if she could see it. There was no way she got in under the bridge through this hole. And it was so ludicrous. Even in my grief, I almost laughed at them. She wouldn't have gone on her own. No, she wouldn't have gone on her own.
They looked at the fact that she was blind and intoxicated was the way they took this case, and they didn't stop to see how somebody who is blind would function, which would have been important. And if you don't know how a blind person functions, how do you investigate that? You know, how can you have a theory that she made this trek all the way to the bridge and did all the things that they alleged that she did or they believed? And they tried to prove their assumptions instead of proving the case. I couldn't fathom being a parent and being left with that. I mean, this has become one case that was never solved, and it should have been.
Holly Bartlett was found unconscious under the MacKay Bridge after a night out with her friends.
The initial police investigation was wrapped up really quickly. Drunk, blind girl, case closed.
The 31-year-old's death in March 2010 was ruled an accident.
No foul play is suspected. They didn't even have the autopsy done.
I guess we're gonna do another left turn up Holly's driveway. My dad, Brian, and I are driving to Holly Bartlett's condo, where police say a taxi dropped her off at midnight. Our first step in this investigation is to retrace Holly's last movements according to the police report. I want to see if they make sense. And now we're going up to the circle. The cab would have had to have pulled around this circle, right?
And he did, according to him. Turned around this circle, and according to that, he pulled up in front and stopped and let her out. Let's get out and go for a walk and have a look at this.
Yeah, let's do it. Holly's condo building was at the top of a hill. The police think she became disoriented when she was dropped off by the taxi and walked away from the building instead of towards it. When I first heard from the police about what they thought happened, it made no sense from an orientation mobility standpoint, knowing Holly's skills. She had best orientation mobility skills of any client I taught.
That's where the cab driver said she got out?
Yeah, got out the wrong side.
When the police interviewed the taxi driver, he said Holly got out of the driver's side door, furthest away from the building. If the theory was correct, the way they said it, how would she have handled this?
Well, first of all, she would get out the right side like she did so many times, but if she started walking away and didn't contact the door or the curb really quick, she would know she was going the wrong way then. This is where she lived. It would have been so automatic for her to get out the right side.
When she walked away from the cab, she walked the opposite direction to her apartment building. She went down the road.
You have the decline of the driveway she would have went down.
And she would have known right away from that she was going the wrong way.
Well, definitely she'd be going downhill. She would know from the decline she's going the wrong direction. She would take the bus 5 days a week to work, and she would walk down this hill to the bus stop, which is at the street. This decline is actually so obvious.
Well, I can feel it. You feel yourself sliding forward almost in your shoes as you come down the hill.
It's quite a significant decline. It doesn't make sense from an orientation mobility standpoint and of her individual skill level. When Holly, first of all, would be walking down her driveway, which is a decline, she'd be walking towards that traffic. So we'd call that perpendicular traffic in front of her. So she'd know not only from the decline of her driveway, but that she's walking towards traffic, that she's not walking in the right direction.
What have we covered so far down this hill? Probably good 150 feet, 200 feet.
At the bottom of her driveway, Holly took a right turn onto Northridge Road, walking about 300 meters towards the MacKay Bridge.
So coming around the corner here on the Northridge, so you've turned the corner and you're Holly. What do you hear?
So now the traffic that was perpendicular is now parallel on the left side. And not only that, having the parallel traffic on the left would mean that we're walking away from her driveway.
It doesn't make sense. It's a long walk down Northridge.
The nearby highway traffic on Holly's left side would have offered her plenty of sound clues about which direction she was heading. A simple technique using traffic for orientation would be to make that traffic on your right to know you were going back. And that's a really significant parallel traffic. It's a highway, that's still going pretty strong at midnight on a Friday. According to police, Holly kept walking down Northridge Road towards the bridge through a neighborhood she knew well.
So we've got all the houses both on the right, and on the left we have the fence. You're boxed in. This is a place that Holly was very familiar with. It would have been like her backyard. She walked it so much.
It would have even been better than a backyard because of all the clues that you have with traffic and such. Just after Holly died, the Justice for Holly group canvassed this whole area, asking if anyone had seen anything on March 26th that could help.
There was just nothing to give any reason why Holly would have traveled this direction. And if she did and she was in trouble and lost and confused, again, all these buildings, she knew people, and everyone, she talked to them every time she walked down the street. She talked to families. She knew they had children. She knew the names of their kids. She rode the bus with these people. Not one of these doors did she stop to knock on. Not one.
The 31-year-old's death in March 2010 was ruled an accident.
This has become one case that was never solved, and it should have been.
Our first step in this investigation is to retrace Holly's last movements according to the police report. I want to see if they make sense.
She would know from the decline she's going the wrong direction. A simple technique using traffic for orientation would be to make that traffic on your right to know you're going back.
We went to her apartment building, knocked on every door. No one had seen anything. There was just nothing to give any reason why Holly would have traveled this direction.
The police theorized that Holly walked 350 meters along Northridge Road. Unable to find her way home, she came to its slope. This slope was next to the bridge abutment, a concrete structure protected by a fence below the bridge.
Now we've just walked down a hill that's even steeper than the first one.
Yeah.
What do you think the odds are if she came down that hillside, she'd know the bridge was above her?
It's quite obvious to us with vision. You're hearing traffic go over a bridge right now.
So she'd known exactly where she was if she got this far.
I think so.
That's the abutment right there.
Right.
That she crawled up.
Right.
And fell off.
Right.
If somebody was crawling, are they actually going to crawl off that abutment?
I have a hard time even getting to this point from her driveway.
Even the theory that she heard the traffic and she was trying to crawl up something to get towards the traffic? Why, when she just walked all that distance?
Yeah.
Down the road towards the bridge to here to crawl through a hole in the fence? I'm still grasping with why would you get a cab ride home where it's safe, know you got let out where it's safe, and then make this walk to here? It doesn't make any sense. Would a blind person go where they don't know where they're going?
No.
Would it make sense for them to crawl up to a fence or go to a fence and try to crawl through a hole?
It makes no sense to me.
Next time on What Happened to Holly Bartlett.
Oh, great, you have something new?
That's it. Yeah, I found it. I have found Holly Bartlett's king.
Executive producer Johanna Elliott, supervising producer Jennifer Comeau, director Sonia Jempolsky, story editor Connie Edwards, director of photography Mark Hammond, editor Jake Harris, composers David Anderson, Jason Michael McIsaac, research Maggie Rahr, Greg Jackson, online editor Kenneth Peterson, produced in association with Accessible Media Inc., integrated described video consultant Simone Cupid, development and production executive Andrew Morris, Ocean Entertainment Limited.
An AMI original production.